I heard a story the other day. Heard a story, what I think is a one-of-a-kind story that a shliach shared at the Fabrengen after the Kinnis. Maybe some of you heard it, but most of you didn't.
It's in the books?
No. So, and he gave me permission. I have to call them up. He lives there at Kislev, in the Afula Tanakh area, it's called. And his name is Chaim Sholem Segel. That's his name. Must be a 75-year-old man. And he told over something that he didn't reveal to anybody for 50, 60 years. That's what he said. He said anything only to one chaver, his best friend, but he never said this, because in a way it was like embarrassing. But now he said it, and he's happy that people should know about it. And this is what happened. He was a bacher in 770, part of the Kibutz. Kibutz is a group of students that come from Eretz Yisrael every year to learn in 770. This is in 1970-71. That's what we're talking about. And he was from the type of bacherim, type of students that followed the Rebbe's steps every minute. They call these bacherim the mimush bacherim. You know what the mimush means? They serve, they observe. The Rebbe went with his right foot, not with his left foot. He turned to the right and not to the left, and things like that. Okay? Right, wrong, that's...
Same size clothing.
Yeah, right. Anyway.
I saw, there was a bacher in Miami, in the MEMS, maybe the nuns, walked around in the same size clothing as the Rebbe. Didn't fit him.
Okay, so that's what we're talking about. So that's what we're talking about. Anyway, and he was there to Yisrael, the Kabacher, and he came from the Segel family. He's an illustrious family, Yerushalayim. Talmid Chachamim. And he realized he's not really learning. I mean, he opened the Gemara, he opened the Chasidus, but he's not really learning. And he was frustrated, and he had Yechidus. He wrote a 15-page letter. I don't know why 15 pages, but he wrote a very long letter to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe focused on one paragraph. And in the paragraph, he said like this: Hechladati, I decided, since I'm not really learning, I decided that I'm doing this mimush. This is something that I could do because I just can't get into my learning. And the Rebbe said to him like this: if you decided that this is what you want to do, pack your bags and go back and go to a kibutz. You ever hear such a sharp answer to a guy? If you decided that you're not learning and you're part of the kibutz that came here to learn, pack your bags. And he tells him, go to a kibutz. And then he said, not only if you find a from kibbutz, but a non-religious kibbutz. I mean, could you imagine that? The Rebbe should say that? That's what he tells me that the Rebbe said.
It's like a Yerushalmi story.
It is. He's a Yerushalmi.
And you saw the letter?
No, but I spoke to the person.
But they never spoke to people like
Hello, a person is telling you that's...
Okay, the guy lied. No, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He lied. Come on.
He lied.
A person lenient to go anyway. Listen.
What's the motivation for a guy to make up a story?
Wait. No. Listen. So he walks out of Yechidus, and he's ice mensch. He turns colors. He's walking up and down the hallway in 770, and thinking like, what just happened? The Rebbe told me to pack my bags and leave and go to a kibbutz because I'm not learning. I'm wasting my time. So he sits down and he says, you know what, a few days, he's thinking about it. He writes a letter. He says, Rebbe, hichladeti. Now I decided I'm going to start learning. And the Rebbe answers him, I don't know if he says, I don't believe you. No, go to Eretz Yisrael, to the Kibutz. So he again listens and he says, what? And then he realized that the second time he wrote, it was, I made a decision. He didn't do it. So the third, he started to learn for 2 weeks. He didn't write back a second time. He started to learn and, Ligon and Lenin, he was really learning. And then he wrote to the Rebbe, I am learning. I am learning now. And the Rebbe answered him, Asker Alatzian. And that he didn't go back. He pointed out, and it's clear, I think, that, that if a person decides he wants to do something, he can do everything. If you decide you want to be a millionaire, you will be a millionaire. Versteht sich, with the siyata d'shmaya, with the Eibishter's help. But the Ratzon ha'adam, this is what I want to get at. The Ratzon ha'adam, the determination of man, the Ratzon is ikar, is important, is primary. If you want to do something, you will do it. I remember Rabbi Zalman Korf, before most of you lived here, when he brought me here probably about 10 years ago, and he said, he really wants to get into learning. He didn't learn enough in yeshiva, and he wants to really learn. Because he has a community, it's an Anash community, and he wants to be able to Ken Lenin. And I just asked him today what's he's learning, and he's learning. I'm a Vil Lenin, if you really want to do it, you will do it. But you got to want. You got to want. And that's what the Rebbe was telling him. You asked the question. The Rebbe was telling this Bocher, in other words, where is your Ratzon? Is your Ratzon to follow my footsteps and what shoe and what right foot, left foot? If that's your Ratzon, I don't need you here. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in Mizol Lenin. Bochum should learn and know how to learn, then go out and be Makarev Yidden. But, so he says, I want to. And then I asked him more. I said, are you still learning? I said, he's 75. I said, how? He says, look, he says, I didn't become the best Bocher in 770, but I learned. I learned a lot more. So it took a Rebbe, but the truth is, where Chasidus for your children, for our children, for our grandchildren, those of us that grandfathers, do they see us sitting with a sefer, laying with a sefer, sitting with a sefer, or watching a sports game and v'chuli. What's the worst thing to watch a sports game? Today, that's considered a mitzvah. Going to a ball game is not the end of the world, When I was in LA in the yeshiva as an older bacher, a shliach, I don't want to mention who, but I took people today who are personalities, I took them to ball games. Why? They weren't interested in learning. They liked to watch the Los Dodgers who were in LA. So I said, good. And I took my chitas and I went there and and then I said chitas. And I was makarev them. Baruch Hashem, today they're top younger light. So it's not the end of the world. Will your son see you learning? Shabbos morning. Is there, you get up earlier than your family, and you're sitting learning a maimer, from whatever, and you say it out loud. Your kids see that you are a living example of what you preach. And you send them to yeshivas, and you pay $20,000 tuition and Mayontik from Geld, a tremendous amount of money, and it's gonna if we're not that way. So the hachalotas ha'odam, the decision to by us, forget the kids. It's a big mistake. The shikin in yeshiva, the melamdim, the mashpiyim, the rosh yeshiva, they'll make him into Chasidus shechever, into Talmid Chachamim. It's also very important, no question about it, to have Chasidus Shemlamdim. Talking about Chasidus Shemlamdim in Kfar Chabad, used to be a Yid, Berke Chaim. Who was a Yid, a Rosh Yid, the father, Berke Chaim. Matel Chaim's father, was a Chasidus Yid, a Mamish, a Chasidus Nefesh. I heard the story from Avremke Gotten. He's in Crown Heights. Gewaltige Meiser. Gewaltige Meiser. There was a Yid, Parshan. It was in Toronto. I think he has a son there. Parshan. The family, Parshan. So he was not only a Kfir, but he was connected with the Poile Gudish Yisrael. He was in the not Mapai, the religious, and he was a Chevraman. He was well connected. And he came and brought a Gvir to Kfar Chabad. No, maybe it was Lud to Kfar Chabad, in the early years, to give money, So he took him into a classroom, and Berke Chaim was the Melamed. You understand? This Yid with a beard to his pupik, and a Yid who sat, who was on the KGB list, and a Yid who put on 4 pairs of tefillin, and a Yid who didn't trust the first pair of tefillin he put on because maybe it wasn't kosher enough, so he put on 2 or 3 others. He was a big fanatic and a fruma. She was a special type of a chassid. Berke Chaim, very, very special type of a chassid. And this Berke, and he was the Melamed of the Yingelach of the Kinder, 7 years old, 8 years old, 9 years old, in the Cheder in Kfar Chabad. And so they tell, first of all, the first thing like this, Avremke said like this. When he came in, it was unannounced. So the Berke said to them, Vart, not now. Pinya Altois, who was like the fundraiser, Menahel of Kfar Chabad, brought with Avram Parshan Agvir to give money, and Berke Chaim tells him, stay out of the classroom till I'm ready to let you in. No, find me such a Mohammed today. The Manal wants to come in, and Berke says, please, wait outside till we're ready. That's number one. You understand? This is a Malamed. I'm teaching Yiddish Kinder now, Torah. No disturbances, nothing. Okay. He comes in, and he wants to show that a boy can. He knows. He wants to show what they're producing. So Rebecca calls over one of the kids, and he says, okay, say over something to. And he doesn't know. And Rebecca's turning colors. Like he was one of the best boys in the class. What happened? Afterwards, after they leave, he says, Du hast nicht gewaschen Nägelwasser heint. You didn't wash Nägelwasser this morning. And guess what? He didn't wash Nägelwasser that morning. Yiddish Shemayim comes from washing Nägelwasser by your bed. The Misnagdim, how do they wash Nägelwasser? The Daladamas, it's under one roof. We can go from the bed to the sink and wash. A Lubavitcher puts the Nägelwasser by the bed. Not just a Lubavitcher, I'm saying Yiddish Shemayim that wants to do it the best way at the bed. And Berke says, you didn't wash Nägelwasser today. And that's why you didn't know the Gemara, the Rashi, whatever. You forgot it. Because today, you forgot to wash Nägelwasser. No. Was he a tzaddik? Was he a Beinani? He was a Chasidus Yid, a Rosh Chasidus Yid. It was a Yid, a Baal Mesiras Nefesh. But what I'm saying is that a Melamed is very important. To have the right Melamedim. Really. And unfortunately, they're the least paid. I don't want to get into it, but really we should pay the best, the Melamdim and the teachers, and because they build our children, they build our Bachim and our girls. The parents, all of us are running around making parnasa. We're so busy. At the same time, if your son and your daughter doesn't see that du lernst and the davens and the singst Chasidische Niggun, it's like. So that's the recipe. It's a very simple recipe. Medafnish, you don't need, conventions and conferences every day on online and this workshop and that workshop. That's how I grew up. My father was a hard worker. He worked 2 jobs. My father was a very good friend. He's a good friend of his father, but my father was not a rabbi, wasn't a shliach. He was a worker, and his father would come and ask him to help when he did well. And how did he worked so hard, 2 jobs. He would go Matzah Shabbos left. He worked Sunday, Shabbos through Monday, because it's double pay. In those days, when you work the weekend, maybe it's still this way, you get double the pay in the Brooklyn, warehouses on First Avenue with mice and rats running around because he manned the machines, the sweater machines. Yeah, that's what he did till he made some money and he was able to go into business. Yeah, right? What does he do Shabbos morning? And I remember this till now. I would get up 7 o'clock, he already 6 o'clock was saying, and he would type it up in Yiddish to himself, like he's learning with a Chasidus, and he was sitting in his chair and saying the words of the Likutei Torah. That's what I remember. No, when you have such a memory, it's gonna impact you. It's gonna impact you. Somehow it's gonna impact you. So isn't it worth this little sacrifice, sleeping in, and like Rabbi Gershon Schusterman would always tell us when we were in LA, don't have, excuse the expression here, there's only one boy here so we can say it, don't have a love affair with your pillow. You know what I'm saying? Don't hug your pillow. You're hugging your pillow. What are you hugging your pillow for? You're tired. Have Mesiras Nefesh for your kids. Get up at Shabbos morning, learn some Likutei Torah, and let them hear how you learn the Likutei Torah. And when you do this, then so many things fall into place. Is there perfection? No. Do we need Siyata D'Shmaya? Yes, 100%. Alles richtig. But we as parents and grandparents, we know, and that's why I'm going back to the Nekuda, the Rebbe Tichladeti. When you're machlit, when you decide that you want to be a mishush and you don't want to learn a Blat Gemara, you made a decision. So the Rebbe tells him, you want to stay in 770? You want to learn Temchit Mimim? Make a achlata and live your achlata now. And if you live your achlata now, you will change. And I want you in 770. Askar Alatzian. That's the way he explained it to me, and I'm sharing it with you, and I think it's
I tell Moish, Shabbos morning today.
Yeah.
Very good advice. Very good.
No, but very good advice. We have to implement it. Get up Shabbos morning early. You can sleep later. Rabbi Yoel Kaver Rashbi would say, he would say it about saying l'chaim sometimes. He would say, you have to say l'chaim sometimes. What's going to be if you say too much l'chaim and you get a little shikr, and tomorrow morning you'll deal with it tomorrow. But if it's a small mesugel to say l'chaim, zog l'chaim. I'm not talking about becoming a sugar, but talking about everything. In other words, be in the moment. Be in the moment. It's Yudalet Kislev. It's noch a hemshech of the Rebbe's, the Yom HaIskashrus. The Rebbe said, this is the day that connected me to you and you to me. And I remember the first time I heard it. We were boys in Ocean Parkway, Lubavitch Yeshiva in Brooklyn. And at that time, what Lubavitch is today and what they taught us was so different than what the boys or children are learning today. We didn't begin learning Chasidus till 14, 15 years old. And even then, a little bit here, a little bit there. No one pushed us to go to Fabrengens. It was a very different culture. Yudalet Kislev? I never heard of Yudalet Kislev. Until I was like 16 or so, Rebbe Lipska was our mashpia in Lubavitch Yeshiva. And he made a Fabrengen with us in Nikita, like here. And he told us about Yudalet Kislev the first time. Never heard of that. And that's when he told us. So he introduced to us, but it was, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like Chassidim Bechlal, Lubavitch Chassidim. They were like very, I don't know, private. It's like, if you're shaykh, if it's relevant to you, you know about it. And if it's not, it's not. This whole idea of like sharing and imposing and pushing, and it's my grandkids come home from the yeshivas here, from the schools, the cheder. It's the Rebbe's wedding in 770 or something. I'm saying a little 6-year-old, 5-year-old girl is talking about a wedding in 770 today. Beautiful. Kol hakavod, beautiful. That's not the way I grew up. It wasn't the culture, not in Crown Heights either. It was not the culture. It was a private issue. But Baruch Hashem, as the time and the years moved on, things expanded. And now, like Mashiach, the Gemara says, Mashiach will come, the children, the Ravreve, Gemara site, I think, the children will speak about the Eibishter. Now little children are talking about Yudalit Kislev, the Rebbe's wedding in 770. Wait, so Baruch Hashem. But let's not get away from the point. It's a day of Iskashrus. Everyone knows here that you wouldn't be here if not for our Rebbe. And we're so thankful that the Rebbe gave us the schus of being makusher to him. That's what he said. This is the day that I became connected to you by marrying the Frierdiker Rebbe's daughter, and you connected to me. Now, what does that say? What does that line say? That he's saying himself, it's a schus for me. I was a Schneerson here, a Schneerson there. He wasn't a Rebbe. His father wasn't a Rebbe. Rebbe Levi was not Grisa Mensch, but he wasn't a Rebbe. The Rebbe was the Rashab, and his son, the Frierdiker Rebbe, Zeu. And the Frierdiker Rebbe chose him, Dafke him. Not the other, not the Rashad, not anyone else. Ezel Zayin the Hemshech. So it's a great schus. We have a schus. And we have to be thankful. Really thankful. You know, ask yourself, would you be, my father is from Romania. My father always says, I don't know what schus I had that I was chosen to go into Toim Chei Tmimim. How did he go into Toim Chei Tmimim? I'll tell you soon after L'chaim. Nu singt er Chasidus Nigen. l'chaim, got a bit l'chaim. Scotch, a little scotch.
מה קורה היום? אני לא מבין מה שקורה.
What?
מה קורה היום?
You weren't here. I spoke. Nachum Leiva Chazan.
נקודה אחת, מה הסיפור של...
Hareb, כן, זהו.
מה כל האקסייטמנט?
Moish wants to know when we're gonna talk about the imprisonment.
What imprisonment?
The Amish holidays about imprisonment.
Raise the weight to eat to the body.
Someone was in prison.
Moshe, how long are you with this rabbi?
Easier.
Sorry?
How long are you with this rabbi? This rabbi? How long? 10 years. And you don't know what it's about imprisonment? It's always about imprisonment.
20 years. What's that?
No, and you still think every Lubavitcher Yom Tov is about a prison?
This thing
Wait,
is about
how long you
president. No, but
Well, that's next week. Weish, that's next week.
That's next week. That's next week. The Rebbe's wedding anniversary. I said at the beginning.
No big deal.
I'm talking.
Weish, that's next week. Tuesday is your
Tuesday.
Test. And last week was Test Kislev.
Okay, what's my here?
All Kislev was my
That's my finish too.
Get it eventually.
Yes, for the kids. Yeah.
Okay.
No, who's the l'chaim? Bring a bit of l'chaim.
I love you.
Oh, no, noch, das war
Your father talking about
Maschwir von Schott. Okay.
Yeah, a bit of
Das ist der
brum.
Maschwir, das ist der Maschwir. Das war der Maschwir.
So I have here good friends at the Fabrengen,
Das war
Mark and Sholem and Barry Baruch. And when I come to Florida, which is quite often, I have 3 children living here, Baruch Hashem. So, they've been a big help in different ways. And I want to say thank you.
ja.
Mark is from New Jersey, good old New Jersey. And he started to go, he helps Rabbi Kaplan in his shul in Fort Lauderdale. He's usually the number 10th man, right? Mark is number 10 because he lives very close to the shul. And that's, he became friendly with my son, and I met him. And for a while I opened a little kollel by Reb Mahler shul for a few weeks, and I introduced them to Sholem, and now they're learning Tanya a few times a week together. So Chazak Vemotz, go further and strong, and it's beautiful. And Sholem is a Talmud Chacham and has what to offer. And B'meila, thank you enough.
I'm Sean.
L'chaim, David should help. Everyone should be matzliach, and really have only bracha v'atzlacha and good health and parnasa barchova. Should have so much parnasa in this community that very soon you should put up a nice shul building, because when you do that you'll triple your amount of people, not just Lubavitchers. I would think the Rebbe Korf is open to having additional Lubavitcher, right? The Rebbe wanted all Yidden to be together, and it's coming. It's coming. So the Eibishter has the money. He has the money. His oitzir, his treasurer has it. Just has to rain it down to you, to your bank account. And the Eibishter, you make a keli. I understand you're building a mikveh, which is
Raise your hand. Both hands. Both hands. Amen.
Yeah. Listen, it's behesach hadas. It's really behesach hadas. One night, there's a Yid in the Borough Park, Rabbi Yitzchak Reitport. Some of you might have heard the name. The Reitport family. Rabbi Yitzchak Reitport, Itche Reitport, is a Baki in Shas. He was a Isha Torah, a yeshiva man. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't the business. What business? He was learning in 770, literally 18 hours a day. The Rebbe would come in at night and see him resting. He would fall asleep. He would and turn the lights off in the upstairs zal. He was the only one there. Talking about 1961 and 62 and 63 in those years. And the Rebbe wrote him a letter when he got married in 64, when he came out with his sefer. The Rebbe wrote him that I didn't participate in your wedding, but he gave him the money to print his sefer, Dvar Melech, the first volume. And the Rebbe wrote him, I paid attention to you that you learn Samim Yomim, Leilas Kayomim, nights like days that you sit and learn. The Rebbe wrote that Lashon. It's printed. And and garnished over his family is growing. He's having a child after child, Baruch Hashem. And the parnos is, difficult. Then comes someone, somehow, he had oil. He started to do oil accounts, in Brooklyn and here. You have the buildings and you have the boilers. You need oil. So he became an oil salesman. Each airport, it was this London Godel that the Rebbe used, by the way, when any Litvisher came to 770, he sent each to talk to him and learning. I mean, you're talking about someone who was one of ours, and how many people knew how to learn like he did? Very few. And the Rebbe used him, really. And then he's Panosa. David Raskin in 770 can't give him a salary of $100,000 or $50,000 in 1970 when the Rebbe told him to be a Rosh Hashiva, and he became a Rosh Hashiva in 770. So Bekitzer, he goes out and he becomes, part of the time, he goes around with a teshkala. Teshkala means a briefcase, and he's selling oil accounts. He goes to the buildings. And he was Matzliach. He was successful, but nevertheless, it's still limited. Some of them owed him money. And then came the 1974, something called the oil embargo. If you remember, Moshe, you should remember. And that time, because he had oil accounts, overnight, and the Rebbe gave him a bracha to do this, he became a millionaire overnight. Overnight. And Baruch Hashem today, he's a big Baal Tzedakah. I'm just saying, the bracha of Parnosa and becoming an Oisher, a Gvir, be overnight. That's all it is. A bracha from Rebbe, a bracha from the Eibishter, overnight. You wake up in the morning, all of a sudden your stock account is up. You bought the Pashmekta stock, and all of a sudden it jumped, and you bought enough shares, and you're a millionaire overnight. No?
A little help from your friends.
What?
A little help from your friends. Yeah,
The Eibishter. That reminds me of a story, the Eibishter, a good story. This is, from I met a Yid in the Square Stiebel in Borough Park. This is probably about 20 years ago. I'm sitting there. It was Hanukkah. I'm sitting there waiting for Mincha to start. And he turns to me and says, "You're a Lubavitcher, right? Right? You can't miss out Lubavitcher. You look like a Lubavitcher. You drape the hat. Your big beard is unkempt. You're a Lubavitcher." So he says, "I have a story for you." I said, "Okay." He says, in 1957, my parents lived in Eretz Yisrael. I lived already here. We were from Europe. I wanted to bring him here, but I wanted a bracha, and I wanted to know if it's the right thing. So I went to the Satmarov and the Bavov and the Kloisenberger and the Lubavitcher. I went to everybody. He says, I was waiting to go into Yechidus with the Rebbe, and the door opened up, and a gentleman, a Hungarian Yid, was coming out of the Yechidus room. And this is what he heard. He heard the Rebbe say to the Yid, the Rebbe gave a bracha, and the Hungarian Yid, the custom of Hungarian Chassidim is that when a Rebbe gives them a bracha, they don't just keep quiet, they second it. That's their style. So the Eibishter, Ton was sucht the Rebbe, like that. That's their style. It's nothing. It's not arrogance. That's the way they relate and talk to a Rebbe. So not Lubavitcher Chassidim. Lubavitcher Rebbe says we keep our mouths shut and we go out. We say Amen and we go out. So after the Rebbe gives this guy a bracha, this Hungarian, he says to the Rebbe, "Der Eibishter soll helfen. God should help." The Rebbe, what you said, God should help. It should be fulfilled. Right? Was anything outrageous that he said? And then this Yid is telling me that he was waiting to go in, and he heard that, and then he heard the Rebbe's response. The Rebbe's words were like this: "Der Eibishter helft nit, tut alles." God doesn't help, God does everything. And he walked out. And it left an impression, and I remember it just like now. The Eibishter helped it. That's not what I'm saying, Moshe. Yeah, of course the Eibishter helped, but the attitude, we learn Chasidus. When you learn Chasidus, and I hope you learn Chasidus, and I hope the younger light here, learn with your Chasidus. When you learn Chabad Chasidus, when you learn deeply, not just read, but you learn and you understand. When you learn a shtickle Gemara, a piece of Chasidus, a shtickle Tanya, you'll come to understand that it's not just the Eibishter helping you. Everything is the Eibishter. There's nothing outside of the Eibishter. The saying is Einoid Milvadoi, but not just saying Einoid Milvadoi, understanding Einoid Milvadoi, feeling Einoid Milvadoi, living with Einoid Milvadoi. Then it's a different level. It's a different life. It's not a life where when there's a curveball thrown at you, and sometimes it's a real curveball with it's tutvei. It hurts. You don't get frazzled, and you're not vest with sugar, or you give up and you say, this is God, this is Rebbe, this is Chasidus. I don't need it all. It's Babmeises. Including when there was a Holocaust, Rahman al-Islam, who can answer? Is there an answer? No one understands. But the question is, what do you do about it? And if you're going to, reject the Eibishter, Chas v'Sholem, and Torah, no. I was a shliach in Marin County, California, it's north of San Francisco, in the 80s. Near me, it was a city called Petaluma, outside of our county, the next county called Sonoma County. Today, there's shluchim all over there. So, there was a conservative shul there. And it was an old shul, so I wanted to find out what's the shul all about. So I asked some people, they said, look, this shul was founded by Russian Yidden that came over in the 20s. And originally they wanted to make the kibbutzim of Petach Tikva and other places, right, that are in Eretz Yisrael. They wanted to make it there in Petaluma because it's chicken town. It's chicken farms. And so I said, okay. And so I went into the social hall. I didn't go into the shul. I went into the social hall and I saw pictures on the wall. No yarmulkes, all Yidden. No yarmulkes. Having mesibas, men and women, and the social and playing cards and that. So I said, where are the kids, grandkids, great-grandkids? So they said, those, they're Lutherans today. Lutherans. Not just non-Jews, Goyim. Lutherans, they became Goyim with a religion. Rahman al-Islam. That's what I was told in the 1980s. A whole shul full of Yidden with the pictures on the wall. Ganesh is geblieben. No, the issues that we have are real. They're real issues. Assimilation is so high. Gefährlich, right?
And this is where it started, so why can't you understand?
No, I understand.
Where it started.
I understand. I understand it started there, but what do we do about it now?
What are you going to do?
What are we going to do? Sit and kvetch? What are we going to do? No, we're going to do what Lubavitch is doing. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make a program. We're going to learn. We're going to daven. We're going to bring people together.
No, not out. You're going to bring the outside in?
Of course. Of course. Our own is very important, but only our own. For that, you don't need to be a Lubavitcher. You could be a Baba, a Satmar, and a Litvak, and take care of your own. A Lubavitcher thinks about another Yid, because that's what the Eibush says. Think about another Yid. What was it? What was? I come from Brooklyn. I know the other side.
So you bring it.
I live on the other side.
You bring in a
hippie.
You can bring in a conservative Jew to a Lubavitch shul. And they come in, they're all excited about looking at them, and then all of a sudden they're looking at the prayers, and they all say, what's going on? I can't keep up with this. This is all new. I can't keep up with it.
So you teach them.
Let me out of here.
You teach them. You teach. Please. Listen. I've done it. You weren't in the field. I was in the field. Okay? So I'm talking from the Sayon. I'm talking from practice. Practice is that when you make a program, and you talk to people individually, they become niskadev, they become closer.
That's a beautiful dream. Beautiful.
What do you do?
That's what we all want. That's what we all want.
You live in this world, or you live? Where do you
I
live?
right here in the Lubavitcher community. We're Lubavitchers. Yes.
Yeah, but this is a community, maybe just
This is the dream that we
Lubavitchers.
want. Yes, we want.
No, we're not talking about making Lubavitchers. You were asking about bringing people into. Forget about those
It's
Yidden.
our world. Yes, it's this world here. Yes.
Okay.
I'm asking you. You're the.
And I'm telling you that it works. You bring people in, you invite them for Shabbos. You have a neighbor who's a Russian Yid, a Polish Yid, a Hungarian, a Colombian, and they don't know, and you invite them for Shabbos, and they hear about Shabbos, and their child starts lighting Shabbos candles. What's wrong?
Beautiful. Nothing's wrong.
So that's what we need to do.
It doesn't work.
What do you mean it doesn't work?
Doesn't work.
Barry,
It works.
it works.
I wish from your mouth to God's ears, I wish it worked.
It doesn't
I
work
wish we
every
have people in
time.
this community, right in here. Right here, we have a lot of Jews in this community.
Well, good. Nothing happens.
We want to reach out to these conservative Jews.
Listen, I know at least 4 people
Yeah.
in California community
Uh-huh.
that became actually shliachs.
Wow.
And they were,
How do they do that? How do they become shliachs?
they got close to the rabbi.
Yeah.
It was.
We have a great